Hello garden friends, Jara here. I just wanted to make a quick video chatting a little bit about Hurricane Milton and how that's affecting my garden, my nursery business, and my family and what we're doing about it. And just kind of also to put it into perspective, like how awful this one's gonna be. Like, that's coming from someone born and raised in Florida, a Floridian, natural Floridian. So I'm actually worried about this one. But a lot of you have been sending me, questions and messages, emails, asking me how I'm doing and well wishes. And I really appreciate all of that. Thank you so much. So I just thought maybe to make a video and kind of answer some of that stuff and chit chat with you guys a little bit about what's going on. So if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, please go back to my channel, check out my gardening tutorials, because that's really what my channel is about. This video is probably the first time I can think of that I just sat and chit chatted with you guys about something. But yeah, go check out my channel for gardening tutorials. I even teach like homesteading topics like food preservation, unique recipes to use up produce that you grow from your garden, and how to raise backyard chickens. But anyways, today I want to talk a little about Hurricane Milton and what we're doing. I did make a video 2 weeks ago, right before we got hit by Hurricane Helene, about how to prepare the garden. So if that's something you want, ideas, tips, that kind of thing, please go watch that video. It'll definitely help you guys out with just prepping the garden. As I sit here, I'm overlooking my garden, which is just gorgeous right now. It's fall. I'm so excited to be planting everything up. So I'm kind of just really sad looking at everything and just knowing that I'm gonna come back home to probably a lot of damage. I'm located in Orlando, Florida, Central Florida, in the middle of the state. So very rarely does a hurricane, like the eye of the hurricane, come straight up over Orlando. The last time that happened was Hurricane Charlie in 2004, which was the absolute worst hurricane I've ever lived through. And I'm born and raised here in Florida. So if I tell you it was actually bad, it was actually bad. I was in high school when Hurricane Charlie came through. It made landfall as a Category 4, and it does weaken a little bit before it finally makes its way over Orlando. But still, like, that level of winds and the eye being the strongest winds is just insane. And I can't tell you, like, the destruction that I witnessed in my surrounding community. Luckily our house was fine, but all the trees knocked down, large oak trees. Many of my friends lost their homes because of tornadoes. I'm not concerned about the flooding, even though there are many areas in Orlando that do get severe flooding. Even with Hurricane Helene, and a couple years ago we got hit with Ivan and Nicole, almost back to back too. That was the most flooding I've ever seen, ever. Like, roads turned into rivers. Again, my home didn't get flooding at that level, but it definitely wiped out at least half of my garden. The soil was just so drenched and wet for so many days that it caused root rot, and there's nothing you could do. A lot of my plants died when that happened. And that's pretty devastating. I'm a very, very small backyard seed grower, plant nursery. If my plants die, I don't have seeds. So that's a big bummer to me, because right now a lot of my tomatoes, for example, are some really rare, hard to find cultivars that I've never grown before, that are even hard to find, like, within the United States. So I was really looking forward to harvesting them, collecting the seeds, drying them, processing, and making them available to you guys and spread, the joy of some of those harder to find tomatoes. And the plants are lush, gorgeous. They're flowering right now. So in about a month I would be harvesting. So I'm very sad just knowing there's a high probability they're not going to make it. I figured let's move into my tomato garden so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But they look so good. They even made it through Helene without much damage. A couple branches broke here and there. And of course the leaf diseases are going to go crazy, but I've been on top of spraying with 1 cup of hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water, and they all made it through. Every year I get better and better at growing things, especially the tomatoes. I make tweaks to just my process for growing them. I'm looking at them now thinking, man, this is going to be one of the best seasons, if not the best season ever. It's probably going to be severely damaged. So yeah, there's nothing much I can do to protect all these tomatoes. The good thing though is this entire trellis system is zip tied really good onto T-posts, And I've never had T-posts like fall out of the ground or anything like that during a hurricane. I'm not concerned about the trellis. It's going to stay in place. But all these vines, unless they're really well secured, so I'll have to take a look and just kind of go through and weave them in to the spaces of the cattle panel just for added support. The vines literally will snap off under a lot of winds. That is my biggest concern here. And then all of my green stalk garden towers, I put them up against the house. There's 4 of them over there. I was just gonna start planting them like last weekend, yesterday, but you know, with the hurricane coming, I was like, forget about it. I'm pretty sure they'll be fine there up against the house. I do have a couple of them back over here full of like green beans and cucumbers that are lush, growing great right now too. And I just took every single tier off and laid them down flat on the ground. This entire area will flood and it stays wet for a long time, for many days in a row, and then things just start dying off. So because of that, I have a tendency to try and grow as much as possible in grow bags if I'm planting stuff during hurricane season or fall time, just knowing that this is all gonna get flooded out. So maybe my tomato plants won't die out of root rot, but when the soil is saturated with a lot of water, that causes the pathogens that live in the soil to really start moving around. So there's times maybe after a really bad heavy rain or hurricane or something where I'll start to notice lines, entire lines, one after another, of like tomato plants, for example, just dying from tomato wilt virus, or it's a bacteria that causes a wilt. That virus and bacteria lives in the soil and they start spreading rapidly thanks to water. That is my concern, that these things are going to start getting any of those wilt diseases, and that's uncurable. It's stuff that lives in the soil. The only way to really treat that is by crop rotation and solarization and stuff like that, which I have done, and that does help decrease the incidence of those types of diseases. But you know, once the plant gets one of those tomato wilt viruses or bacterias, whatever, there's no cure. The whole plant looks beautiful today, you come out the next day and the entire thing is wilted, and you're like, what happened? It has water, fertilized it, it's beautiful, or was beautiful. It got some kind of wilt type of disease. Hopefully they will survive. They look very great. They're lush, green. They should have good immune systems to kind of combat these things. But you know, that's my biggest fear. I probably should just leave my garden and quit looking at it, because I'm just gonna get more sad and sad looking at everything that's doing so well. This is an Indian snake cucumber, and I try to grow this because it's hard to find seeds for it. Not a lot of people have it. And so I have this whole cattle panel trellis full of them, and they're starting to produce. So again, really bummed out that this might totally be shredded, obliterated when I come home, you know, and this one's starting to produce. I would be harvesting seed from this in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. I am out of stock right now. So yeah, just another thing that I'm bummed out about. And I just started getting another harvest of this yellow giant Brazilian passion fruit. I mean, these vines are loaded. I'm pretty sure this plant will survive through the hurricane because it's really tough to kill a passion fruit vine. But they started producing, and I'm also like, the seeds for that sell out immediately as soon as I put them on my website. So I was super excited. Hopefully not too much damage. This will probably get about 1/3 more in size and then turn yellow, and that's how I know it's ready for harvest. This is loaded. There's 2 more right here. Just a really tasty and unique variety of passion fruit. The good thing though is this is growing along my privacy fence. Like, I have a white 6-foot tall privacy fence surrounding my entire backyard, and I feel like it's such a massive, there's 3 plants in here in a row, and it just overtook this entire side, probably more than 50 feet long. But it gives strength to, you know, the winds that'll force their way through here. Kind of gives strength as a barrier to like my fencing and stuff like that, and has prevented it from just falling over. Certain panels of the fencing will just pop out, and I'm definitely expecting that with this hurricane. But at least on this side, it's pretty sheltered thanks to this plant. Planting trees or perennial plants that are vining and stuff like that, just to give some strength and support around the garden, is helpful as well. So me and my husband have discussed, you know, what category of a storm would it take for us to make that decision to evacuate. And for us, that was category 4. Milton is category 4. It could potentially intensified to a category 5. So we've decided to evacuate, and we are actually going to fly out and hang out in New York for a couple days. It was really hard finding airfare. Everyone's trying to get out of the state. During 2004, after Charlie, there was like 2 or 3 more hurricanes after that the same season. My family tried to evacuate through driving up through the state of Florida. We were trying to get to Georgia, but all the highways, everything is backed up. We made it to like the Swanee River campground area, and we couldn't go anymore. There was no movement on the highways. So we decided to just stop there and camp there. And luckily that hurricane ended up, shifting or whatever and didn't hit us or nothing, and it wasn't that bad. But just to show you guys, like, if you make the decision to evacuate, it's hard, if not nearly impossible. Like, we were lucky to grab some tickets really quick to fly out, but driving out of the state and that kind of thing, and this Hurricane Milton is basically covering the entirety of the state of Florida, except maybe for the very southern portions of Florida. But yeah, so we're evacuating, and I'm born and raised here in Florida. For me to tell you that I'm evacuating, and I'm in Central Florida, which, I mean, it's bad. It's going to be bad, but it's not as bad as like the level that people that live on the coast get. Just goes to show you that I think this one's going to be pretty bad. And my heart really goes out to those on the coast, the Tampa area, the Gulf Coast, Sarasota, all the way, the entire coast. They just got devastated, destroyed 2 weeks ago from Hurricane Helene. And to put it in perspective for those of you, that don't live in Florida, Hurricane Helene dumped or caused so much storm surge. I don't know how high it went, 8-9 feet, something like that, which is insane. And that was like unseen of. So that already obliterated those communities there. And, I always say I could never live on the coast because of that. When you're in the middle of the state, you are sheltered. Like, the probability of something actually coming up through the middle is very, very low. And now those people on the coast are just getting hit again. Like, they were just starting to get back on their feet and start the process of fixing and rebuilding, and now this storm is coming through, and they're already starting to say that Milton is going to bring even a higher storm surge than what they saw 2 weeks ago with Helene. So just, quite frankly, just awful situation for them. And I'm in Central Florida. It's not going to be like that level as the people on the coast, but even I'm leaving. Like, we're evacuating. So my nursery is kind of shut down right now. I mean, I'm taking orders for seeds only. The seeds are going to be fine. They're protected in cases and stuff. That's not the problem. Plants, though, I have taken them all down from my website and everything, because my plants are in a small like screen porch area, which is pretty protected, but yet I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, if there's wind damage and something like flies in the porch and destroys everything, or a tornado, I don't know. So I just took all the plants off, and no one can order plants right now until I return home and I can make sure they're alive, because I don't want to sell dead plants to anyone. So that's what's going on with my shop, my nursery, and everything. As far as shipping, I'm halted shipping. Today is Monday, October 7th. I'm halting shipping for now, because if I ship plants today, I can't guarantee they will make it through in transit or whatever and get out of the way of whatever's going to happen in Florida to not delay plant orders specifically. So I will resume shipping once I get the word from the post office that they're back open and that kind of thing. The biggest issue is the shipping transit lines or whatever on the north part of the Florida state. When those shut down, then nothing can get out of the state of Florida for a little bit. So I'll be monitoring that, and I will resume shipping as soon as everything is in the clear, obviously. So I apologize, for any delays and stuff like that, but it's the only way I can guarantee your plants aren't gonna die. So anyways, that's what we've decided. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit and kind of put it into perspective, I guess, for those of you that, don't live in Florida and don't really know what it's like to be through a hurricane. For me, for the most part, they're not a big deal. It's just a bad storm, bad rain, and bad winds. But to be a category 4 and potentially 5 when it starts to make landfall and come directly over Orlando is just like, the probability of that is super low. So yeah, we're gonna leave, and maybe I'll do a little video showing what I come home to if that's what you guys want to see. My heart and prayers go out to all of you, all Floridians. Stay strong. We always make it through, you know, anything. We're Florida tough here. Just sending you all well wishes, and I'll follow up with you guys after the storm.